I lost myself. I lost my children. I basically lost my life. Whenever I started feeling bad, I would just go in the kitchen and cook. It was just therapy.
On that cheery note, let's start the show! Oh, therapy. It's hot outside. What's up, Tom Merritt?
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt, and it's 93 degrees.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood. It's 102 degrees, and I'm not bothered. You're bothered. Hey, Bryce, what? How about that therapy?
Hi. So that was part of the trailer for Netflix's upcoming food series, Street Food USA. This is another food series from the creators of the critically acclaimed Chef's Table, and it's actually the third volume of Street Food. They've already got Street Food Asia, and I believe South America. Yes, Tom Merritt.
I wasn't paying full attention. I just want to admit that, but this sounded like a documentary about, like, going to prison or something based on that clip that you
It sounded like somebody who was eating a lot as therapy.
No, that was one of the chefs that they follow in the show, and they cover kind of a post-COVID period, and for some of these chefs, the food industry helped save them a little bit.
Yeah,
well, good.
Well, I'm starting to think there's something about this COVID thing that's got the whole world a little bit upset.
Well, it seems like people are on edge about it. Yeah. I've noticed that over the past 3 years.
That's coming to Netflix July 26th.
Let's get into the primary target. Everybody thought Netflix was narrowing down its choices between NBC Universal and Google to handle ads for the ad-supported version of Netflix. So Netflix said, we pick Microsoft. Now, you may or may not realize that Microsoft has a decent-sized advertising business, fourth biggest behind Google, Meta, and Amazon. Microsoft's efforts center kind of around its Bing search engine that powers search for lots of other providers, including Yahoo, etc. Microsoft also owns a few other ad properties like Promote IQ and the Microsoft Audience Network, and Microsoft most recently acquired AT&T's programmatic ad system called Xandr, Xandr. So it not only has the sales, but it has the tech chops as well. Netflix says it chose Microsoft because it, quote, offered the flexibility to innovate over time, as well as strong privacy protection for users. Another notable point is that Microsoft doesn't operate a competing streaming service to Netflix like, NBC Universal and Google do. Netflix plans to launch ad-supported options in 10 markets still by the end of the year. So Microsoft's going to have to build up some relationships. Toot sweet.
Do you think it boils down to, and you're more familiar with this ad space and Microsoft's reputation therein. I know that the Bing service is better than most people perceive it as. I know that Microsoft is better at playing ball and being what the customer wants, which makes me wonder if what Netflix wants is for Microsoft to be very quiet about their involvement and just if you could not make a big deal about the fact that you provide ads and just make them appropriate and just sort of
maybe. And I'm going to say partly absolutely, because what Netflix doesn't want is someone talking about all the data that Netflix collected in their ad-supported services and what it was used for by Google or Comcast, which owns NBC Universal. And with Microsoft, they get a good shot at that. Microsoft, we'll see how it goes, but Microsoft has been known for being rather responsible with its data. In fact, they've thought to protect data from being brought over from Europe to the United States in certain legal cases and stuff like that. So I think Netflix is hoping no one will pick on us because we have Microsoft and people don't go after Microsoft for those kinds of things.
So would I be out of line by saying that I perceive it as discretion being the better part of Microsoft is part of the reason that that they got the gig?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's definitely not you have the best relationships and can make us the most amount of money fast, right? Because that would be Google, that would be Meta, that would certainly be NBC Universal, right? But it is something along the lines of, we trust the business, and we trust the technology is going to be good. We're willing to put up with maybe a little bit of lower revenue as you ramp up. And I think Microsoft lucked out, not lucked out, but Netflix probably lucked out when you look at it that way, in the fact that they had just bought AT&T's programmatic system, which does have a lot of people who are very experienced in that end of the system. And that will be an instant boost to Netflix, something that Microsoft didn't have a year ago.
So where does that land us? Like, we were talking about some pretty outlandish things in terms of alternate ad, whether it's lower thirds or I don't know.
We talked about like L bars and
like
banner
innovative
ads.
versions of,
or watching 5 minutes of ads at the beginning or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, does this affect any of that for us?
No idea. It might. I don't know what Microsoft's offerings are in that arena. It certainly isn't the one that everybody talks about, but it also is not something where you can't imagine Netflix saying, hey, Microsoft, could you design something like this? And Microsoft being Microsoft saying, yeah, we absolutely have engineers and designers that can do that. So I would expect Netflix to try something different. And I don't have a clue now that the Microsoft is their ad partner, what that might be.
Yeah, I guess also, and tell me if I'm just perceiving this incorrectly, but I don't perceive Microsoft as being a brand that makes it really important that everybody know powered by Microsoft, which is like 20 years ago, that was the big problem with Microsoft, is whether it was a video game, an Xbox, Office, you name it, they insisted on putting their stupid logo all over it. But I don't get that vibe from new Microsoft nowadays.
Yeah, and ad tech partners usually don't care about that. They want everyone in the industry to know it's powered by them, but they don't care if the consumer knows about them. So yeah, I would imagine, I doubt that would have been a problem for NBC Universal or Google either, honestly. But yeah, I don't see Microsoft trying to insert themselves into that. Most people will not realize that's Microsoft if they don't listen to the show or work in the ad industry, I'm guessing. A couple other Netflix pieces of news. Its global fan event, Tadum, will return on September 24th on YouTube, covering more than 100 movies and series. This is part of Netflix's plan to build franchises. And in fact, Netflix is talking publicly about this. It's something Brian and I have speculated was in the cards, especially since they bought Miller World. But Netflix's Matthew Thinnell told Reuters, we want to have our version of Star Wars or our version of Harry Potter. Stranger Things is basically its only example of that. Although Money Heist, Bridgerton, Squid Game, Witcher all have the potential for that as well. Netflix also hopes that upcoming shows like Three Body Problem or the manga-based One Piece or their live-action reboot of Avatar: The Last Airbender could become franchises. And of course, despite the disappointment of Jupiter's Legacy, there are still plans to mine Miller World for that sort of thing. On the film side, there's Enola Holmes, which they're making a second of, Knives Out, which they are making the sequel to, Old Guard, Extraction, Army of the Dead, and coming up this weekend, the Russo brothers' The Gray Man debuts on Netflix. What do you think of this idea where Netflix is actually coming out and saying, yeah, we need to have franchises, but we're not going to acquire them, except maybe in Last Airbender sense, we're going to build them?
I think that is a smart strategy that always looks smart after you have that big swing for the fences success. Until then, it could also be the thing that drives them to ruin. Now, having said all that out of everything I've seen here,
because what Disney did was like, we're Disney, we're amazing as Disney. Let's also buy Star Wars and Marvel and Muppets. Like they just went out and find plum things to add rather than develop everything internally. And Netflix is deciding to develop everything internally.
Yes, which again is the right call to make when you're a young upstart. It's a bit more problematic once you're a old blue chip stock, and they're about as blue chip as you get when it comes to the streaming services. Out of everything I'm seeing here, to be honest, before I give my answer, Tom, which of these properties has you the most excited?
Like as a fan,
yeah, or which are you most optimistic of?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about Stranger Things. Duffer Brothers seem like good stewards of that, and they're already talking about spinoffs that wouldn't turn my stomach. I feel like Bridgerton has a huge following, the kind of following that will show up for installations and experiences, and that's exactly the kind of thing they want. And Witcher, I think is the other of the three best bets out of all this stuff. The rest are all remains to be seen or brand new.
That's interesting, because the two that are most interesting to me are the ones that are the wildest, most chaotic. Good luck. We'll see if it goes anywhere. Avatar: The Last Airbender, obviously, it a beloved franchise that with a troubled live action history. We'll see. But the Three Body Problem, assuming that's the one that's based on the trilogy from China, right?
Yeah.
So a science fiction property where basically all that changes in humanity is knowing that spoiler. Do we do a spoiler warning
for the Three Body Problem?
Yeah,
for the three. Well,
it's literally the conceit of the book. Skip if you're worried about it. Basically, humans know there are aliens somewhere, and now humans know that aliens know that humans are there, and just the knowing causes all of human society to have an existential meltdown. It's really bizarre. Is that a good way of putting it, Tom?
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's book jacket-ish copy. And it's a 3-book series. So you've got lots to pull from. Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Cixin Liu books are fascinating, and there's lots to turn into the kind of stuff that would be a franchise in there. Absolutely. It's a little dark, and it has to be handled right as a TV series or movie, or it falls flat. So there's a lot of question marks around it, but it's got a lot of potential. I don't deny that.
To be honest, to fully disclose, I did not finish the trilogy of books. I actually gave up because it was just too depressing. I suspect that a westernized version will have more hope and, we can get them kind of thing.
Maybe. It's still kind of if you're going to stay true to the main principle of that book, it's not the kind of thing that has people cheering.
Well, yeah, maybe we'll save this for after talk, and we'll speculate wildly. But I wouldn't mind seeing some changes to that series as I had been reading it, I guess is fair to say.
Certainly. I think you're probably not alone with that. Bridgerton seems like a better bet for everybody's got a character they can get behind and love and that sort of thing. Squid Game, I don't think has the promise of the others, because I'm very curious how he pulls off a second season that captures that magic, because he wasn't planning on doing a second season. So you never know. You might get your Empire Strikes Back out of it in the second season. Then I'll change my mind. Well,
let me pitch you on something. The heart of the show as we watched it was, this particular set of characters and their dire circumstances involving debt and lack of control for themselves. But if you divorce that from what made it sell, I could be convinced that what made it sell was children's games with deadly consequences. Mm-hmm. And as long as you stick to that, you could tell a totally different story with a different set of characters, and
sure, you could do maybe a money heist kind of situation.
Scenarios.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, because I was going to say Money Heist or La Casa de Papel, same show, different names. They have a Korean version. They have obviously a Spanish version, and they're planning to do other versions of it. You would think, oh, well, that's just going to get boring because you always know what it is. And yes, having watched the Korean version with my wife who watched the Spanish version, she was sitting there like, well, I know exactly what's going to happen. It's just in a different country. I think people will get excited about it anyway, and they'll be able to have a version of the character that they identify with. And that makes for a good franchise and good con and cosplay and all that. So yeah, maybe Squid Game's got something to it there. If they do a Portuguese Squid Game and a Argentinian Squid Game and a Canadian Squid Game,
and thematically that would make sense in that show.
Yeah, it would.
And make a whole point of
right, because they have all the globetrotting rich people or whatever.
Right.
And maybe, I mean, if we're going to do, a season here, a season there, and then all of a sudden it's like, third, fourth season is like they go to Antarctica for the international Squid Games or whatever, and it actually goes commercial or whatever. There's some surprises that I think would fit.
Well, and honestly, this is us looking at the script for Star Wars in 1975 and going, I don't know if it's going to be that big. So, one of these absolutely could just become huge. The Gray Man may debut this weekend, and that's all everybody talks about, and it becomes the huge hit that saves Netflix. We have no idea. One last thing, though. Netflix is trying to get more money out of you. It's expanding its test of detecting and then asking people to pay more if it thinks someone outside the home is regularly using the service. So here's the new deal. In Argentina, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and the Dominican Republic, users will be prompted to, quote, add a home for about $3 a month. It's a little different in Argentina. If Netflix detects a user from outside the house using the service for more than 2 weeks. So if you're just going on a couple weeks vacation, this wouldn't trip it. But after 2 weeks, if they're like, not regularly coming from this entirely different location, they'll say, hey, would you like to add a home to your account? Users can add 1 extra home to a basic account, 2 to a standard account, and 3 to a premium account. This is different than the other test that we've talked about before, which is happening in Costa Rica, Peru, and Colombia, where users are asked to add up to 2 extra sub-accounts if they detect someone outside the home. The sub-account is different than adding a home. So they're A/B testing here to see how does it change how people respond to it if we position it this way versus that way.
Tom, you're more hip to colonial politics than I am, but would it be fair to say that they're continuing to practice Netflix federalism, where they're making little laboratories of all of these independent markets and trying to see exactly what various
I wasn't sure
markets...
what you meant by colonial politics. You mean politics in the United States of the 1700s?
Yes, you're our resident Anglophile, yes.
Okay. Oh, so pre-American Revolution.
Yes, correct. Back when the Federalist Papers were being written and all that stuff.
Sure. No, I'm with you now. I thought you were making a totally different
No. I did not mean invading and enslaving other countries.
Right.
No,
which is what most people mean when they say colonial these days. Turns out. Yes. So founding fathers wise, are Sarandos the Jefferson of Netflix? Interesting question. Yes, but it's not new to Netflix. This kind of
correct.
like A/B testing is something that's like built into startups and engineering, but doing it on this scale is pretty huge. Like to be able to just be like, yeah, we're going to have 6 countries be our A/B test. That is interesting.
Also, I do recognize that now colonialism is a loaded term, and sorry to hit you with that.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to clarify to make sure, what?
No, I meant the old-fashioned one, back when it was us versus the Brits.
Wigs style.
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. No, I got you now. It is a little bit of that laboratory of capitalism in this case, not democracy, but and again, I don't find anything that confirms that they make you pay or that they cut you off or that they block you. I've been waiting for that, and people have been afraid of that, but I have not yet seen any evidence that they do other than just ask, which is what Netflix has said they were going to do. So I'm waiting for that smoking gun to show up, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yep, and I actually think that's a savvy way to do it. As I mentioned before, the best I've ever been as far as diet and exercise went was all I had to do was I told myself I was going to write it down. Just all you have to do is know. And then once you know whether you're doing the thing that you have said you're going to do or not do it, then you tend to fall in line. And so in that regard, it's like, hey, just so you know, you're overusing your account. Are you comfortable with that? I'm just saying. Yeah, we see that with everything from the radar speed limit signs on down.
In fact, it's less like pre-colonial or it's less like nascent America than it is like the Catholic Church, which is like, we see that you're sinning. Would you like to pay for an indulgence?
I love sinning Clippy as an idea. Looks to me like you're about to commit a venal sin. Would you like some help
to
with
buy
that?
an indulgence? Click here. $2.99 a month.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you are feeling indulgent, why don't you hit us up over at patreon.com/Cordkillers. That's where you keep us loud, live, and independent. You get your own RSS feed. You get the sweet, sweet, smug satisfaction of being one of our nearly 1,000 bosses. Who knows, Tom? Maybe one of these days we'll get 10 more patrons and we'll have 1,000 bosses. Oh, wouldn't that be great? That'd be great.
Yeah. We will grant the next 10 people who sign up for our Patreon complete indulgences. We will forgive you of all your sins.
Ooh. Hey, did you used to be a dirty, filthy pirate? Guess what? We're selling indulgences. If anyone asks us, you never did it. And when we will be your alibi. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Martin Luther's going to have some words with us.
If all of a sudden,
Not King, Martin Luther.
The Lutheran Martin Luther.
In my mind, I show up tomorrow at work and there's like theses nailed on the door.
Ander asks what patron tier gets Bryce describes movie trailers. Do we have that set up yet?
Can we promise if we get back to 4 digits, then every single after talk will have you.
Yeah, I'll describe a trailer.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
But we actually really have to do it. We have to hit 1,000 patrons. We need 10 people.
Right, just
If it
10,
goes below,
10 people. We could do this.
If it goes below, I'll just have to keep my trailer descriptions to myself.
No. I don't like this. Come on, 10 of us.
When you do it, then I'm going to smash through a window like, and then everybody's going to be like, oh my God, look at him. He's way not like, that's just a little bit of a taste.
Is it weird for me to patronize our own show? just to make it easier?
Why not? Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's talk about how to watch. Amazon launched a new interface for its Prime Video service, and the short version is it now looks like every other video service. The text-based tabs on the top have been replaced by icon-based navigation on the left side, so you get like a magnifying glass for search, a little house for home, that kind of stuff. So you've got those two, home, search, store, live TV, free with ads, and my stuff. Those are the categories along the side. There's also a big carousel to highlight Amazon Originals. That one is at the top and a little larger than it used to be. Under that are subcategories for your types of shows, like all movies, TV shows, and sports. The sports section is new. They didn't have that before, and it collects all the live sports as well as replays, highlights, and documentaries that Prime Video offers. Live TV shows a grid of what's playing on any of the live services you subscribe to. Showtime has a live version if you do that as an add-on. Paramount Plus does for your local channel as well. There's also live sports from Amazon in there as well. And the homepage also now includes a top 10 chart for your region and a place to show your current add-on subscriptions. So those Paramount Plus, Stars, AMC Pluses, those will show up on the homepage now. Bloomberg sources say Warner Brothers Discovery is in talks with Amazon to offer HBO Max as a bundle in Prime Video again. Warner wants Amazon to agree some new terms, sharing metrics and stuff, but we might see the return of HBO to Prime Video bundles, but as HBO Max.
That's interesting. Which do you think is more valuable to Amazon? Theoretically, they would basically charge a gate fee, to HBO Max, Warner, Discovery. But I wonder if the data might be more valuable because through the Amazon portal, if you're watching it through Amazon, that means they're able to also watch every pause, backup, click, all of those metrics, which have to be incredibly valuable in a world where Amazon is only getting better and better at their originals.
Yeah, no, a lot of these deals get hung up on the value of that data. It's not just about straight payments or commissions or anything like that. It's why Netflix is not included in Apple TV's little strip of here's what to watch next, because Netflix doesn't want to give Apple that data. They want to keep all that data for themselves. So when you can't agree to share the data, you see these sorts of integrations fall apart. So I don't know that Amazon and Warner can't come to an agreement where they share a little bit of data, maybe get a little bit of a deal on the amount and such. But I do know that Amazon is obviously in this redesign positioning itself as the service, right? Putting live TV, putting sports in there is trying to make you feel like just open Prime Video and subscribe to your channels in there, and eventually everything will be in there. You can just live in Prime Video, which makes it important to have HBO Max. Makes it where Prime Video would really like to have HBO Max as an add-on there.
So my snide response was immediately going to be to say, just don't take away my X-ray. I love the X-ray feature whenever I pause it or mouse over when I see that guy, an actor who I can half remember from a thing and instantly know where. And then the follow-up question immediately becomes, how come more people haven't ripped that off? And do they have a patent on it, do you think? Or some kind of intellectual property protection?
Yes to all of that. And I don't know all the details, but there are some patents involved, and there's a little bit of an IP in the way they present it and such.
And their partnership with IMDb and all, because that's where they pull a bunch of the sources.
IMDb. Yeah, absolutely. I imagine there's also a usability question. So there's that hurdle. And then if a company's like, well, we should do this, then they get to that hurdle like, well, we'd have to do this much extra work and risk this many lawsuits. How many people are really going to switch to our service? And that's why you see people back off rather than try to replicate it, because if it's something's profitable enough, people will replicate it and just try to claim like, oh, we're not violating your patent. But I think the meeting of those two keeps folks.
Sure. And that's also that first mover advantage where it's like, by definition, first movers are occupying a space where the demand is technically zero. Like nobody knew that there was a demand for this until they started doing it. And I started loudly complaining about it, and Tom mocked me, and I've never forgiven him. It's fine.
Yeah, you can't just pull a phone out of your pants.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's fascinating that they're really leaning into the sports thing. I think we're starting to see Apple TV and Amazon Prime Video shape up as mega apps, super apps. I don't know what the term we'll end up calling them is, which is we're not the service like Peacock or HBO Max. We're the place where you get the services and we have sports. So Amazon has Thursday Night Football. It has the rights to show the UEFA Champions League soccer in the US and UK. It's got Indian Premier League cricket. They're going to keep trying to add more of those. And I think Apple is too. So that to me seems like another avenue. We keep talking about like, how is this all going to shape up in the end? It feels like there's going to be a battle to be the platform, and you'll have channels. People will decide, you know what, we're just going to be a channel like HBO Max and Peacock, and you'll have platforms where people are like, we are Apple TV, and we encompass channels and other things on top of it.
So think about this, Tom. If they are putting this effort in to unify their look and to be compatible with all these other services that they offer as sub products under the Amazon logo or so on, I think, and I can't believe I'm saying this, and I want everybody who disagrees with me or agrees to hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com. I think I would pay $1 more per service just for everything to be under one bill in Amazon, and for everything to have that X-ray feature. Like I would I would pay more, $1 more for Netflix as an easy to add, easy to remove service. Same with HBO Max, same with everything. Is that crazy?
No, it's not. In fact, I was just having this experience on my NVIDIA Shield TV over the weekend where I launched Apple TV on the Shield and was like, well, wait a minute, I get Paramount Plus through Apple TV. So how am I going to manage this on the Shield? And then realized, oh, it's there. It's in the Android app for Apple TV, which is a weird sentence to say out loud, but it's in there. And then I backed out to the homepage where NVIDIA does a modified Android homepage where they show you like, oh, here's what you've been watching and everything. And Star Trek: The Next Generation that I watch on Paramount Plus through Apple TV has showed up on like, here's the next thing for you to watch. And I'm like, okay, this is just a really odd feeling because NVIDIA is being a platform and Apple TV is a platform, but they're playing together. It's going to be a wild world. But to bring it back to what you were saying, the revelation that was like, oh, I don't have to think about it anymore. Like it's just in there. And the fact that it worked with the Shield home screen just blew my mind. I'm like, wow, we really are getting there.
Well, and even on top of that, like just knowing that all of my subscriptions for over-the-top television are all in one tab wherever that one tab happens to be.
Yeah.
Like I think I would pay $1 per month for all of them just to make it easy to undo.
Just to make it easy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. Under surveillance.
The Emmy nomination list is no longer a time on this show to test whether streaming is gaining acceptance. It's just a chance to see who's doing well. So here's who's doing well. Succession. HBO's show cleaned up with 25 nominations, the most nominated show of the year. It broke the record for the most acting-related nominations in a single year with 14. The previous record was West Wing's 12. Or if you throw miniseries in there, which Succession isn't, but the previous record, if you count miniseries, was 13 for Roots. So Succession just blowing things away. Hulu cleaned up as a platform, 58 Emmy nominations, including 17 for Only Murders in the Building and 14 for Dope Sick. And Roku picked up its first Emmy nominations with 2 for Zoe's Extraordinary Christmas and 1 for Bill Burr's role in the Immoral Compass original, which was a Quibi show, but it premiered on Roku.
So, question.
Yeah.
You did watch Only Murders in the Building, right?
I am still watching it as season 2. Yeah.
As I believe the hype, is it time for me to finally get caught up?
You know, I was going to be my eyes on. So I'll talk a little bit more about it there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think so. And in fact, I think that Brian from 5 years ago, I might not have said watch it. But
Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, all I could think of is that I've gotten 5 years older. So I guess there's a clue
It's
right
a show
there.
for old people is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Meanwhile, look, I love Succession, but would I put Succession next to West Wing and Roots?
For acting, right? Those were the acting nominations.
Sure.
There. If that was confusing, it set the record for acting nomination. Doesn't include the direction, effects, etc.
Okay.
Just for acting, would you put West Wing's acting above Succession's acting?
No, I wouldn't watch the filthy son of a gun. But I am surprised that Succession is crushing as hard as it is, and thrilled.
Yeah. Well, actually, I would put Succession's acting above West Wing. I don't know if I'd put it above Roots.
Right.
But then it's a miniseries.
Yeah, but also it changed humanity.
Yeah,
it's kind of important.
I guess the year they gave it Emmys, they didn't know how much it would change humanity at the time. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure about that one. Amazon released another trailer for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. That's the series coming September 2nd. This one has more Galadriel. And I'll be honest, Brian, I don't know if you watched this yet. It's way more of a coherent pitch. Watching that teaser that we talked about last week, I was like, yeah, it looks like Lord of the Rings, I guess. This one, I was like, oh, I'm starting to feel it a little. I feel it in the water. I feel it in my bones.
I didn't love and maybe this is just the marketer in me. I didn't love the double speak where they're talking about like, oh, we're past all that. It's done. And it's like, oh, I get it. You're playing on 2 levels. Like this takes place before the movies that we saw. But if you're casually watching this at a sports bar, then it sounds like you're talking about those movies that we saw are done or whatever. Good. But I don't know. It's fine. It looks fine.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
All right. This actually got me better. It got me better excited. Got me better, more excited. More would be a better word than better in that case.
What other synonyms do you know, sir?
Well, let's find out. Euphoria creator Sam Levinson has teamed up with Abel Tesfaye, a.k.a. The Weeknd. Yeah, the musician. They're working together on an HBO show called The Idol. It stars Lily Rose Depp. Yes, that Depp, as a rising pop idol in, quote, the sleaziest love story in all of Hollywood. That's saying something. There have been some sleazy love stories in Hollywood. Levinson directs each of the 6 episodes. There is a trailer, but they have not yet set a premiere date.
This was pretty well executed. I could tell all of the dopamine hits, like they literally called them out. drugs, nudity, dancing,
Sex, rock and
more
roll.
of this. And yet, man, Tom, I think I'm getting old because I'm like, where's the nuance? Where's the development of a relationship? Where's the what
It's
did
more
what did you
nude
think,
than
Bryce?
nuance.
Well, it's from the creator of Euphoria, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet it's all of the bad things I think Euphoria is, because I haven't seen it. Plus The Weeknd, who seems like a cool guy.
That's what I read too.
Trailer looked fine, I guess. You know,
I like The Weeknd. Jenny
Great
from Blackpink is apparently in it too.
there you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. There's also a trailer for Rob Zombie's adaptation of The Munsters with Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman Munster, Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, as Lily Munster, and Dan Roebuck as Grandpa Munster. The movie comes to theaters in September. It's in color, but otherwise is absolutely a love letter to the original TV show.
Oh my gosh. Finally, something aimed at my target demographic. I deeply loved The Munsters. It is whip smart, vaudeville style comedy. It's the original Munsters is great. Rob Zombie is a real talent. He's proven himself as able to transition from musician to director, the whole 9 yards. Good God, Tom, this trailer's garbage. It's garbage and it makes a property I love look like garbage. It's awful. I didn't care for it. I'm sorry, Rob.
Well, I couldn't tell how I felt about it because I too, big fan of the Munsters. Munsters really made its name in syndication. It was not nearly as popular when it was on the air as it was later. As folks like Brian and I watched it after school on, independent channels. But this felt too close to the original. In all seriousness, Dan Roebuck's Grandpa Munster, spot on. However, I don't know that I wanted it to be that spot on. And yet I also found myself enjoying how spot on it was and how comfortable it was. But then I would say, yeah, but isn't it just going to be a tired retread? And I think I agree with you in the end that this is an awful trailer because it left me with all those questions rather than telling me what I was in for.
It looks, and I'm going to say it looks cheap, but understand I am aware that something could be cheap and also awesome. Mm-hmm. But right now, all I have is that it looks very, very cheap.
All right. Let's get to what we've had our eyes on, and I'll get right to Only Murders in the Building. It is comforting to watch Only Murders in the Building. It is just delightful. It pokes fun enough at itself that it's, New York, Manhattan snootiness doesn't bother me. It is just clever enough of a mystery to keep me interested without being so complicated that I feel like this is one that I have to sit up and pay attention. So I can kind of lean back and relax. Season 2 is giving me all the things I liked about season 1, and I think seemingly fixing some of the things that I didn't like. So it's attuned to my audience. And I would say, we joked, it's like, well, 5 years ago I was younger. It's certainly for an audience that's like, you know what? I don't need to be challenged. I don't need to watch Euphoria, but I'm not dumb. So to give me something that I can just relax and watch and not feel like it's insulting my intelligence.
I understand how to play Pinochle. Come on. I can play euchre. Let's play some other card games I could think of.
Yeah, it's the gin rummy of TV shows.
You're really crossing that bridge to that joke, Tom.
Yeah, you trumped me with that one. Well done.
My heart.
I
can name more. I got them all.
I think you would like it, Brian. I really do.
I'll give it a try.
I may be wrong, because I know you don't like murder mystery so much. Not that you hate or against it or anything.
But I do like self-aware parodies that skewer podcast culture, and I love anything that makes fun of Serial.
Hollywood culture.
Yeah.
It skewers snooty Manhattanites.
I'm on. You're singing my song, Tom.
One of the best moments in the most recent episode was, the running joke is that Selena Gomez's character is the younger, right? She's quite a bit younger than Steve Martin and Martin Short. And so Steve Martin has a daughter, like a very young daughter, who comes over and she says things that they are like, I don't understand. You talk to her, Selena. And Selena's like, well, I'm the millennial. I can talk to this Gen Z girl. And then she also doesn't understand anything she says. And I just love
skewers
that. I love
millennial.
that.
Young people. Yes. All right, I'm in.
Chef's kiss, as the kids say. What have you been keeping your eyes on, Brad?
Speaking of Chef's Kiss, finally checked out The Bear. A lot of buzz about this, and it's well-deserved. It's quite good. If you love industry lingo, if you love food pornography, if you love watching, if you enjoyed the hyperkinetic cooking for the masses that the movie Chef brought you, but you also like a depth and complicated backstory, and most of all, if you like Chicago, this is the most Chicago movie thing I've seen in a long time.
Da Bear. That's why it's called Da Bear.
Yeah.
The Bear.
You got a dude whose brother commits suicide, leaves him his sandwich shop. The guy is a high-end chef, comes out of the best food and wine 5-star place to run this place to honor his brother, finds out that there's all kinds of loans been made. He's got to work with somebody who's a family friend who he doesn't get along with all that well, has somebody come in who is just worshiping the ground he walks on. But you find out that just because you're a good chef doesn't make you a good business owner or a good leader. It's delightful. It's delightful. I'm like 3 episodes in, and curse my family, I'm having to go very slowly through it because they all want to watch it with me.
Yeah, that's great. This is the one Aya's recommended too, right?
I that sounds right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm in. This is on Hulu. It's FX on Hulu.
Yep. And man, if you love all that process and lingo, everyone calling each other chef and saying behind, corner, and all that process,
Hot
looking
behind.
at clocks constantly, it's great.
Man, look at Hulu with the Emmy nomination. I almost said Grammy nomination.
Grammy with
Emmy-
the Grammy.
The Tonys.
Emmy nominations, The Bear, Only Murders in the Building. Like maybe Disney is planning Hulu to be its prestige complement to Disney Plus.
I believe you.
It looks like it's not a claim. It's just a theory. It's just a theory.
I could believe in theories. Bryce,
You
what else
can.
can I believe in?
Well, maybe with something on the lookout, maybe you can believe in. Hi, everybody. I over the weekend got a chance to watch a little bit of the new Netflix Resident Evil adaptation. If you don't know, Resident Evil is a game about a zombie outbreak and doing horror action games in cities and houses and things. This is interesting because it is not, as far as I can tell, a direct adaptation of any of the video games. It is about it's like two timelines. The fact that I have to explain it like this is really unfortunate because I am enjoying the stupid show. There's a pre-outbreak timeline, okay, where Wesker and his daughters are working in and living in a community run by the big pharma or Umbrella
Corporation. Yeah.
And it's like a big, high security planned community. And then 14 years in the future, post-outbreak, you're following one of Wesker's daughters as she's an adult, and she's like, and the outbreak's everywhere. There's only like 300 million humans left. Everybody else is a zombie or a zero, whatever. And you know what, man? This is a good, dumb show. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's prestige or that it's the Shield or The Wire. They make some big monsters go around and blow stuff up, and that's pretty cool. I have to say, I only know a little bit of the game universe and lore, very little of it, and in just the one episode I watched, or episode and a half, I was not lost. There's a virus, it gets out. I think the only thing that kind of irks me a little bit is that it does fake outs. It does some like horror-y fake outs. There's one scene in the second episode where a person someone is laying on a bed with their back to him, so you can't see their face, and another person is like approaching them, and the music's going whoa, and there's reaching a hand, and he puts the hand on the shoulder, and the music's going ah, And then the other person just calmly puts their hand on the other hand. So it's like, oh, you thought it was going to be a zombie, but she's actually fine. And there's a lot of those little moments that are like, okay. But
Wait, and that's a bad thing? Because that was like very close to you describing a movie trailer, which is a premium benefit only for patrons.
well, but I explained it very well.
Yes.
And it's a little hokey when they do it. But I think it's interesting. I'm going to keep watching it because it seems kind of cool. It's on Netflix. It's just called Resident Evil. It's streaming now. I think there's 8 or 10 episodes.
And there's no Mila Jovovich.
No, there's no Mila Jovovich. I don't think I'm told that
entirely different from the film series, right?
Yeah, different from the film series, different from the CG animated stuff. A whole new adaptation. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, please email it to us, cordkillers@gmail.com. There's a lot of shows out right now, and I don't know all of them, so please tell us, cordkillers@gmail.com.
There's too many shows. We need your help. cordkillers@gmail.com. One of the ways you can check that email and send it is with a computer from Doghouse Systems.
Yeah, dude. Have you seen these things? They're like typewriters, but they don't need paper.
What?
I know.
Free paper?
All right. And they show pictures. Anyway, they got them over at Doghouse Systems. Doghousesystems.com/rogue. That's where you go to support this very show. Spell it right, ROGUE. Make sure to enter the promo code at checkout. You'll get a free SSD. You'll be keeping us in business. And keep an eye out for an upcoming episode, I think in the next week. We're about to do a big giveaway.
On the Modern Rogue.
Yeah.
So go check out the Modern Rogue.
Very good. Very good. You know Lamar Wilson. He's been on the show multiple times, folks who watch. Did you know that he once worked at a Best Buy? Did you know that he started as an independent businessman as a consultant for the Chicago school system? Neither did I until I interviewed Lamar Wilson for A Word with Tom Merritt, where Lamar tells us how he got into technology, how he got into YouTube streaming, and how he has moved from YouTube to TikTok, and why he considers himself more of an influencer than a creator these days and doesn't think that's a bad thing. So if you'd like to hear that conversation about being a creator in the modern world, A Word with Tom Merritt, latest episode is with Lamar Wilson talking about the word creator at awordpodcast.com.
Now that is a radio tease. I am in.
Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Puck News reports that based on meetings between Apple CEO Tim Cook and its head of services Eddie Q with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell at the Sun Valley Conference in Colorado, it believes, that is Puck News believes, that Apple is the most likely winner of the bid for streaming rights for NFL games. Now, keep in mind, last week we were telling you everybody knows NBC is going to get the ad thing for Netflix. So who knows if this will end up being true. But right now, it looks like Apple might have the upper hand in these negotiations. This is the package that DirecTV previously held the rights to. It still has it for the rest of this year. The deal ends this year, and Amazon has been the other rumored contestant for these rights. That same report also said Apple and Amazon may bid to acquire domestic broadcast rights to the UEFA Champions League as well.
Google announced that YouTube TV now has more than 5 million subscribers as of June. That puts it ahead of Hulu Live TV, which reported 4.1 million in April, and it makes YouTube TV the 5th biggest pay TV service in the entire United States overall, behind Comcast, Xfinity, Charter Spectrum, DirecTV, and Dish.
So YouTube TV is the leading streaming service, but still behind all the traditional cable services.
Well, there's some smaller guys even.
Yeah, that's true.
Down.
There's like Horizon and
like I think locally like something House, Bright
Bronte?
House, or
Love House. That's a different thing. But yeah, Bright House. That's it. Yeah, you're right. Well. Interestingly, going along with that, cordcutting.com did a survey of 507 representative cable TV subscribers in the U.S. So they went to those folks who still have Bright House and Comcast and Charter, and they said, let's ask you a few questions. All right. The average cable bill is right now around $147. I like having this number at the ready because a lot of people talk about like, yeah, but I can get cable for so much cheaper because they see the advertised $30 a month for a temporary time. If you engage in the old-fashioned chicken challenge, you can keep it below that, but people don't. So the average cable bill is now around $147. The average subscriber watches about 15 channels on its cable subscription. That averages out to paying about $9.47 a channel. Another good piece of information to have because almost every one of the streaming services is less than $9.99. So it's about what you're paying for the channels you watch on cable. If you estimate how much the cable companies pay the channels themselves, right? Because the cable companies pay all the channels a cut of your fee. If you're only watching 15 channels, $12 of your monthly bill is going to the channels you watch, and $135 of that 147 is going to channels that you don't watch, at least on average. And yet, the number of people who say they waste money on their TV bill has declined amongst cable subscribers. 82% of people said that it was a waste in 2019. 62% said it was a waste in 2022.
Tom, I'm starting to think there's something to this whole cord-cutting movement.
I mean, I don't know. It might be a little early days, Brian, but...
Well, following my parents' test, every time I go visit my parents, I pay attention to what they have on the screen. Nowadays, it's nothing but like long-form YouTube videos because they've trained the YouTube algorithm that they tend to like these kind of things, and it's like an hour and a half long of, I don't know, paint dripping and makeovers, and they watch a channel that's entirely people gambling in Vegas with the coin pushers and all that. Like it's really awesome in a Zen kind of watching a lava lamp kind of way.
And it was kind of a revelation to me, especially as sports is moving to these other platforms, to look at this and say, all right, if the average bill is $147 and you're paying $9.47 a channel, you can have 15 services to replace cable. So when people complain like, oh, I have to have Netflix and Peacock and Hulu and all of that, the cost-wise, you might not even need all 15 streaming services because there's a lot more available on a streaming service than there is on a single channel, which point you certainly can still save money if you switch over to that. And I think you'll have more to watch. The problem is still that we are stuck in that mindset of being used to paying one bill to get everything. And that is nice. That is really nice. We talked earlier about maybe a solution for the one bill might be platforms like Prime Video. The getting everything is the problem now. People have to get used to picking those 15 channels and not just having the buffet, even if they're not eating everything at the buffet.
There's also infrastructure concerns, like the fact that only recently smart TVs come enabled to easily access all of that entertainment. And broadband access. My sister was telling me, because she lives out on a farm, she's like, yeah, we're having problems the other night because my son was texting me, and for some reason, the way our internet works, if a text comes through over Wi-Fi on our phones, it pauses Netflix. It's like the old days of dial-up where somebody would be beeping right in on the third-party line.
Broadband, but they're right at the edge of the bandwidth that if like one more thing comes in, it disrupts the signal.
That's amazing. Disney announced that starting August 23rd, the standalone price for ESPN Plus will rise from $6.99 a month to $9.99 a month. However, the bundle, which combines Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus together, will remain only $13.99 a month.
Oh, that's fascinating to me, where they're like, hey, ESPN has all the hockey games. We have all the CFL. We have all these other things that we're plugging in. You've got NFL stuff on ESPN Plus. You don't even need a cable subscription to watch some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. So they have really increased what's available with ESPN Plus. Of course, they're going to raise it to $9.99 a month. That makes perfect sense for the amount of stuff you're getting. But to not raise that bundle... That's the fascinating part.
Well, and also it's like, let's say you do plan on being second rate, or let's say negotiations aren't going well or whatever, like, then yes, raise the price now, get everybody used to it right now while you still can.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I fully expect them to raise the price of the bundle, but I think it's super smart for them to say like, you know what, but we want to get everybody into all of our stuff. So we'll keep that bundle cheap for as long as we can. Here are a few other bits of content coming on to streaming services. Disney Plus announced it will bring a recording of the BTS concert in Los Angeles from back in November to the service, as well as a documentary series about the group. Disney Plus is also getting a travel reality show starring BTS's V, alongside Parasite's Chae Woo-shik, Itaewon Class's Sojun Park, Hyungshik Park, and Peak Boy. Paramount Plus released a trailer for Orphan First Kill, which is a prequel to the Warner Brothers movie Orphan from 2009. That comes to Paramount Plus August 19th. And Amazon's Freevee has ordered a U.S. version of British comedy Friday Night Dinners, which, because we use a different word for Friday, apparently, will be called Dinners with Parents in the United States.
Yes, as we all know, Fridays is Parents' Day. That's why little children should always not go out on Fridays.
There's a lift and an elevator, a spanner and a wrench, Friday and Parents' Day. It's, just the difference between our cultures. I don't know why they had to change the name. I don't like, sometimes I get it. Sometimes I get why they changed the names, because it's like, oh, that's a very British saying or whatever. But Friday night dinner?
Sometimes I used to be the same in that I would assume it was a cultural correction. But now I think that any excuse you have to do any kind of A/B test, whether or not, then seize it, go for it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. All right, let's get to the dispatches from the front. Stealth Dave is assuming he is among a massive chorus of people talking about Sony removing content from customers' libraries. Specifically the comparison to previous generations where we all bought the Beatles' White Album again when it came out on CD. An important difference here is that Apple Records never came to my home and took away my LP. Listening to the inferior copy I already had was still an option. I agree that this is not quite a sky is falling moment. Hopefully other companies will use this opportunity to make sure that their skies are properly supported. Love listening to the show. Keep up the great work.
That is a 100% absolutely legitimate counterpoint to what I was saying. Yeah.
No, that's fair. They definitely never came in and took away your LPs. Do you have summaries for these next couple?
Basically, we got a couple of comments about spatial audio where I had talked about. I was speculating whether or not, because you have various formats, whether or not really all that matters is what sound is coming from what coordinate system. And a lot of people wrote in saying, yes, Brian, you've described how spatial audio works. And so, yes, you're correct. And I understand that future various formats will be able to parse that in a smart way, much like MIDI music becomes, various types of MIDI songs, depending on what kind of music instrument you're playing them on.
And that's Dolby Atmos.
Atmos.
And so, Dolby's gonna make a good standard.
Yeah.
And then Sean the dad. I don't understand this email. I didn't get a chance to read it.
The reason you don't understand it is because it's a direct quote from me. Quote, if you entirely stop worrying about it, then aren't you just the brain-addled old person? I like it when they hit the ball, said Brian. I don't care about sports balls brushwood. I disagree, Tom said. Brain-addled old person merit. So basically, we were talking about how
you're talking about the baseball red zone.
Correct.
That's the part I didn't understand. I actually understood that he was quoting us.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
How is Eileen going to enjoy pitchers' duels if they only show it when they only hit the ball?
Because if you did a red zone thing, then you would
only get the highlights.
You would just get the hot pitches. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not how it works. They definitely show if a pitcher's doing a no-hitter or a perfect game, or they'll cut to that sort of thing. And also, if you really want to enjoy a pitcher duel, you just watch a whole game. You don't go to red zone. That's or whatever the equivalent
turns out when you want Coca-Cola, you don't drink milk.
Yeah, that's true.
Does that not work? Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Though, if you put milk in the Coca-Cola, it curdles.
Also, Sean tips his hat and says that Matt was right about the HBO Max children's profile, pointing out that his 7-year-old daughter has been able to recognize the Netflix shortcut button ever since a wee lass and navigate to the kids' profile since she was 3.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, Sean. I get what HBO's up to, but it feels a little prescriptive of well, obviously you would never let your children have a remote control, to which I say, obviously you've never been around children.
Right?
So thank you everyone for being with us today. We appreciate it. We appreciate your support. If you are a patron, you get more. You get Spoilerin time early. You get After Talk, where, I don't know, if we get enough patrons, Bryce might describe some
Just
trailers.
10 more patrons and we get the trailer descriptions from Bryce.
The 1,000th patron barges in. He smashes in the door with a ramming bat.
Oh, yeah.
No. Save it. Come on. In a world where there are 4 digits of patrons.
Only one man can describe a trailer for them. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk to you next time.
Hey, Tom Merritt, what's going on?
I'm just hanging out here watching this scroll go by. What are you doing?
Trying to set up a bit where we thank our beautiful, beautiful patrons, all these wonderful
I'm sorry,
names.
I'm too distracted looking at these beautiful, beautiful patron names going by. Look at that one. I mean, if you wanted to be one of these people, patreon.com/cordkillers would be the place to go.
I mean, they're scratching our itch, like, because we're
I think
addicted.
as long as it's consensual, like, fine.
We're addicted to their money.
And love. Might as well face it.
Well, God damn it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.